Hello and a very warm welcome. My name's David Roth from WPP, and it's an absolute pleasure to welcome you to Follow the Sun, 24 hours of broadcasting right across the world to celebrate the launch of the WPP BAV Best Country Study for 2021, done in conjunction with US News and the Wharton Business School. It's a pleasure to have you join us for this section. Of course, this broadcast is going to be right across the world. We're starting in Australia and New Zealand, and we'll be ending at the end of the 24-hour period in the USA. Well, we've got an absolutely packed broadcast today, and I'd like to start off by introducing Mike Sussman from BAV. Mike has been the brainchild behind the Best Country Studies for many years, and there's nobody better to put the Best Country Study into context. Over to you, Mike.
Thank you, David. We're really excited about the launch of the 2021 Best Countries study. It's the most comprehensive study of the power of nation brands. We've been doing this for 6 years, covering countries that represent 95% of the global GDP and about 75% of the world's population. So an amazing coverage. This year, we're looking at 78 countries. We spoke to over 17,000 business decision makers, citizens, and elites around the world. And we've ranked countries on a battery of metrics, including 26 key rankings that we'll talk about throughout this report and throughout the app. One thing we've seen over time is the shifting impact of soft power. It's becoming more and more important to driving the power of a country, while hard power, like banks and tanks, as we call it, the more traditional power, is becoming less impactful on the success of a nation. When we think about the power of a nation, we think about 10 key dimensions, and you can look at each of these ranks and how a country does on these things, from entrepreneurship to cultural influence to quality of life. We've introduced 2 new ones that are becoming more and more important today in these changing dynamics of culture. One of those is how socially purposeful is a nation. And the second is how agile is a nation, how responsive it is to things, particularly during a COVID era. And both of those dimensions are extremely important in driving the GDP and the success of a nation. Agile nations are seen as 3 times more likely to be a better job market. They're rated 3.2 times more likely as being economically influential. They are more connected to the rest of the world. So agile nations are doing something to resonate with people globally. Really important to mention, and it's the biggest driver now of GDP. And that's something that the nations need to be more and more of today. So when you think about agility, the top nations around the world this year are USA, number 1 in terms of being an agile country, followed by Australia, and in 3rd place is Canada. We continue to see the rising power of purpose, not just for brands, but also for nations. In fact, purposeful nations are 57% more likely to be considered for tourism, 55% more likely to be considered as a place to do business. So it's important to be seen as a purposeful and socially responsible country. Number 1 on this purposeful dimension is Canada, followed by Denmark, and in 3rd place is New Zealand out of 78. So pretty impressive, pretty strong dimensions, very important. We also see the power and impact of brands that resonate from countries. In fact, 79.5% of citizens say that consumer brands play an important role in defining a country's culture. So there's a strong relationship between the brands and the nation. We also see that 78.6% of citizens say that the country a product is made in impacts their preference for a brand. So you can see that interplay between brand and country and how important it is today. And we started measuring the power of what does it mean to be made in a specific country. What does made in America mean, and made in China? And we can rank the power of these nations in terms of their exports. So, for instance, Germany ranks number 1 in terms of the country you'd want to buy an automobile from. They also dominate on pharmaceuticals and beer. So you can see a little bit of a balanced power of that nation. Italy is number 1 on fashion. So that's the top brand for when you're thinking about buying fashion brands. France owns cosmetics. In terms of the best countries for real estate, Canada ranks number 1, followed by the United States and then France. So overall, again, you can see how the building blocks of a nation affect its overall ranking. And we're excited to share some more details with you. Back to you, David.
Well, now it's time to get an overview of the key insights from the 2021 study on a global perspective. And who better to do that for us than Professor David Ribstein from Wharton University. Professor Ribstein has been our partner in this study since it started, and his unique understanding and unique perspective of countries, of brands, and what's driving GDP growth is unrivaled. So let's hear from David now.
Hello, I'm Dave Ribstein. I'm a marketing professor at the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania. I've been involved with the Best Country Study since its inception. This year has been a different year. It's been a transformational year. There's been many things that have affected how we view countries and how we live our particular lives. First and foremost, obviously, we've had to deal with the COVID-19 and the tragic loss of millions of lives all around the world. Accompanying this has been the huge impact on economies of various different countries, leading to an overall global recession. Some countries have handled the pandemic well, such as South Korea and Taiwan and several others, whereas other countries have not handled it nearly as well. Accompanying this pandemic has been the subsequent vaccine distribution. And this has required acquisition of vaccines as well as some form of equitable distribution of those. Perhaps Israel has been the country that has done the best at it. There are others that are catching up, but there are other countries that are still struggling today with trying to manage the vaccine distribution. A third major thing that's been happening this year has been the Black Lives movement that originated in the United States and has found it in various other countries all around the world. Climate impact has been a major event that's happened in various different countries. Perhaps the most notable are the brush fires that happened in Australia. We've seen other events, such as the explosions that happened in the Beirut port, killing millions of lives. And of course, we could not ignore Brexit and the impact that's had on the British economy, as well as the economies of Europe. Many, many events have made this year an exceptional year. And it's part of what it is that we've all had to adjust to. Perhaps the greatest impact, of course, has been the pandemic. And what we have witnessed as individuals is we see that how we buy and where we shop, that's changed. How we work, many of us working from home, some of us not having jobs. So there's been a dramatic impact for individuals, where we eat and how we interact with family and friends, dramatically affected, and we've had to adapt. Businesses have had to adapt as well. And what they have had to do is how they connect with their customers has changed. Meetings have changed. The ability to have trade shows dramatically affected. The whole supply chain has been disrupted. And certain industries, such as the hospitality industries or the airline industry, have been dramatically affected, with sporting events being canceled throughout the world. So many, many industries have suffered as a result. And when I've talked to business leaders, almost inevitably, what it is that they tell me is they've needed to be agile. And it sort of is the buzzword that I hear from companies. But that's not restricted to just individuals and companies. Countries have had to adapt as well. And what it is that we have seen is we see, obviously, trying to get the healthcare systems up to speed and handling with this medical crisis that we've got. And getting medical supplies to the hospitals and to individuals has also been an issue. But trying to cope with the unemployment levels and trying to deal with that and supporting the local governments has been a major issue for countries all around the world. And what countries have had to do they've had to adapt as well. Well, we too at the Best Country Study have had to go through our own adaptations. We've added 13 new attributes that we use for evaluating countries, and we have taken one of the previous dimensions, that of citizenship, and we have morphed it into a dimension that we call social purpose. And what is social purpose? It has many of the dimensions that we had in citizenship, but it also includes dimensions such as human rights and racial equality and social justice and climate concern, that have all been attributes that now feed into the social purpose dimension. And we've added a new dimension. And this new dimension, this new overall factor is one of course, agility. And what is it that we have feeding into agility? Our perceptions of countries in terms of their adaptability and in terms of responsiveness and how progressive they are and how modern they happen to be and how dynamic they are, all feed into this agility dimension. So with that said, let's take a look at the latest rankings that we have.
Hello, my name is Hector Fernandez, and I'm the CEO of VML Y&R Mexico.
My name is Polo Garza. I'm WPP's country manager in Mexico. I truly believe that Mexico's perception of anti-corruption practices has probably has influenced the perception in 2021 versus 2020.
I really believe Mexico should be better ranked. I mean, just the culture, the miles of beaches, ancient heritage, history, oil, silver, farming, manufacture, tourism. Mexico has everything to be in the top 10.
Mexico's culture and Mexico's overall heritage in that sense is also increasing. And I think that is also influencing the good perception.
But these kind of rankings all have sort of an emotional component. And maybe that's the reason why Mexico is in the 31st place. Improving a bit, yeah, from 33 to 31. Not really know why, because these months have been really strange, atypical to say the least. We've all faced new challenges, and those better equipped for those challenges have taken advantage of the situation. Mexico is the 13th largest country in the world with the 10th largest population. The 6th largest electronics industry on the planet is in Mexico. The 4th most biodiverse country on earth is Mexico. And by the way, we're the #1 beer exporter in the world. I mean, we have the hardest working people on earth, and we're on the most perfect piece of land in the planet. Culture, reputation, economy. Mexico has it all. The commercial treaties with North America. First NAFTA in 1994, and now the USMCA treaty. I mean, those have been crucial for the economic development of the region. The treaty boosted farm exports to the United States from Mexico, finally helping those working in the farms to become less vulnerable. It also created hundreds of thousands of manufacturing jobs. The agreement increased productivity and lowered consumer prices, so it could only be good, right? And it also had some cultural influence. I mean, the members of the treaty now, are more alike, right? Especially the US and Mexico. You can hear more English in Mexico and more Spanish in the US. And we're both influencing our cultures.
Well, I think we had a change of government, and this change of government is a government more skewed towards progressive governments, which yields attraction in many countries around the world. I think that they want to have better distribution of wealth, of revenues. They want to fight corruption, and those things, I believe, have impact on the perception of Mexico.
There hasn't been one right answer to this crisis. The global pandemic came to Mexico at a time when the economy had contracted for 5 straight periods, 5 straight quarters. This was due to many different factors. I mean, one of them was a change of government that came with investments and private consumption just slowed down.
I think we have since the beginning lagged in terms of testing. We didn't have sufficient health infrastructure. We had to find out the hard way that there were a lot of problems. And that created more anguish, that created a sensation of, government is not helping me.
I mean, we weren't really good at managing the pandemic. Our strategy came with many flaws and definitely with no forced confinement. So we were free to roam around, except maybe for a couple of short periods of time. We didn't have the need to stay at home, right? We were pretty much open for business, basically from day one. Fortunately, that problem had a bright side, right? It took a few months, but keeping the economy open helped normalize with time the trade flows within the United States. And Mexico, just turned faster. The manufacturing recovery was really fast, right? Because we were just trying to follow the US. The economic activity recovered in the United States, then so the manufacturing output in Mexico, especially the automotive, with many industries reaching their pre-pandemic production levels really fast. I mean, we were recovering fast. The economy in Mexico is getting better.
Well, definitely Mexico has a heritage of culture, of food, of warmth, people are great hosts.
Probably one of the most fascinating countries in the world, if you may allow me to say that. The traditions and customs of the Mexican people are really diverse, right? Because there's not one Mexico. You have Yucatan, Baja California, Oaxaca, Guanajuato, Veracruz. Every region has its own characteristics and a regional view of what it means to be Mexican or what Mexican culture means. I mean, you can ask someone from the north, how is it to live like a Mexican? It's probably going to be different if you ask someone from the south, right? There's many Mexicos, and that makes one diverse and attractive culture for everyone to visit, right?
Mexico has been doing a lot of work from a communication, promotion standpoint, 20, 30 years ago. So it has been now a good mark in terms of brand Mexico, anything related to culture, food, good beaches, good infrastructure, and very warm people.
On the business side, the country is doing really good, right? I mentioned before, we manufacture most of the flat screens sold in the US. We make more cars than probably any other country, medical devices and aerospace parts. I mean, our exports plus imports equal 80% of our country's GDP. That's really much higher than Brazil or even China. Our companies have a fantastic access to the US market, but I mean, also we share a language with the rest of Latin America. So that makes us, honestly, globally competitive.
Well, recently, I think that there has been changes. Yes, I'm surprised that Mexico has gone up because this new government that started 2019 has not invested in the image of Mexico and the promotion of Mexico as it was in the past.
The heritage factor in Mexico is key. I mean, culturally speaking, we seem like a quilt of languages, territories, heritage, peoples, customs. On top of those, well-known groups like the Mayans or the Aztecs, for example, we have hundreds of ethnic groups that actually contributed to the complex fabric of which Mexico is made.
Mexico, by the way, in recent studies also had a good image of being a country that has been growing and has been modernizing. The exports are the leading business in Mexico.
The culture of Mexico reflects the country's history. Is the result of the gradual blending of everything that just gave it form. That gives us a unique heritage. And I think that's what makes Mexico so attractive. I mean, on the same street in Mexico City, downtown, you'll find a 16th century European palace. And just next to it, the remains of an Aztec pyramid. All those ingredients really produced a complicated blend that definitely works. It's just like a mole sauce, right? It's 100 ingredients: chocolate, nuts, cinnamon, spices, and it creates a really complex and rich and unique dish, and that's Mexico, right? It's the blend of those 100 worlds that makes Mexico so perfect and unique. Food should be the first, right? Mexican food is more than just food. I think it was in 2010 that Mexican cuisine was declared, cultural treasure of humanity. But it wasn't just because of the pre-Hispanic cultures that definitely contributed to, culinary cultures everywhere. I mean, I don't know if you know, but chocolate is Mexican, avocado is Mexican, peanuts are Mexican, even tomato is Mexican.
In every country I go, and there's some good Mexican restaurants, chefs. There are probably about 15 to 20 chefs that have international renown now. They're Mexican-owned. These chefs own restaurants in London, in New York, in LA, in large cities.
Really the blend, the mixture of the old world and the new world. Something that you can taste in Mexico in every corner with the same pride. I mean, you can go to, a place in the street and eat great, as well as going to, a Michelin star restaurant. Because food in Mexico is something that transcends eating. It's an experience. It's more, leaving the culture.
Definitely, social media has affected this in a positive way. I think that Facebook, Instagram, etc., have given the possibility to our great food to be part of people that want to try other foods rather than what they know. And I believe also that Mexico has in terms of food, in terms of culture, it has been trending for the last 10 years positively.
I think Mexico's biggest opportunity is changing the way the world sees Mexico. We're not only a beach destination for tourists. We have so much more to offer. Plenty of archaeological sites. As you mentioned before, great restaurants in, at every level of budget. Food in Mexico is so much more than just eating tacos or burritos, right?
The biggest opportunity for Mexico will be to show the world that we have a country where we believe that business is important, that we are a pro-business government, and that we do anything in our power to have a state of law, respect for foreign investment and internal investment, and that Mexico has a tremendous opportunity to grow.
We're also a manufacturing powerhouse. We're an open economy. We have tons of opportunities. So if we can make people understand that Mexico is more than what they really think Mexico is, I think we'll do much better.
We have proven good labor, no? We have very skillful and talented people, and so we have everything to grow, but we need to make a commitment to demonstrate to the world, especially the business world, that we are a country where business investments are safe. Unfortunately for Mexico, this government, since they took office, let's say January 2019, the first thing they do is to cancel a large investment for the new airport. that did not send the right signals.
Our biggest challenge is getting rid of the perception of corruption and bureaucratic red tape, because we're an open country. We're an open economy. We're stable. We have been for many years now. We're competitive. We're great at manufacturing. The country has received investment for many, many years. And that's despite our fight against organized crime. That demonstrates that Mexico continues to be very attractive. I mean, even the statistics show that Mexico's levels of general crime aren't worse than the violence in some cities in the US.
All the energy reforms have been questioned and counter reforms are being underway. That doesn't create an environment for good investment, open to. So we need to shift dramatically.
Definitely, it's a matter of perception. But perception is really hard to fight.
Okay, Mexico is the 14th largest economy in the world. We should be ranked at least 14. My ambition is to be top 10. We have everything, but this government needs to understand what it means to be ranked and what it means for the brand and for the country, for the development of the country.
Mexico is so much more than what you think. More culture, more heritage, more beauty, more diversity, more history, more culinary experiences, more of everything. But it's really hard to understand if you're not in Mexico, if you don't touch what Mexico is. You have to live Mexico to actually believe it can happen. That's something that I don't know if can be a positioning or not, but it's something that you have to discover by yourself.
Today, I believe government and the private sector should work together to do a what I call a good, solid, campaign, but with a reason to believe that what we promise we can keep, okay? It's not only promotion for tourism, I think it's for brand Mexico. This includes culture, business, tourism, and others. We have a tremendous opportunity for medicine. The medical tourism should grow in Mexico. The same as, technology parks, no? I mean, we have the talent, we have the space, we have everything, okay? But we need to come together and coordinate. I'm hopeful we can do it in the next 2-3 years. Mexico is safer than you think. You're gonna have a good time here in Mexico. You're gonna have great places to visit. Even if you are if you do cultural tourism, or if you come to business, we have a tremendous high-end infrastructure, and we have everything that for your visit to have a great time, a safe time, and a comfortable time, a good time, a time to remember, and you probably would want to come back.
Well, thank you all very much indeed. To celebrate this very special launch, we've created a very special app. It's a virtual reality experience where you can literally visit every single country that's featured in the 2021 study. Well, you can get it on your desktop, your laptop, your tablet, your mobile phone. All you need to do is just download it from the URL that's on the screen here. Enjoy, explore. It's full of interest and insights. And we'll be refreshing the content frequently over the course of the next few months. So please do go back frequently. Earlier, I talked about the significance of countries being seen as brands. This is being increasingly realised right across the world, not just by business leaders, but by governments at the most senior of levels. I caught up with the Prime Minister of the Netherlands and asked him how important he believes country brands are.
Mr. Prime Minister, what contribution do you think that retailing makes to the economy and society in general?
So many. I mean, it is the biggest employer in the Netherlands. 900,000 people are somehow connected to the retail sector, so it is huge in its economic impact. That means that many people, in many cases young people, start their working life experiences in the retail sector. It is also a place where you can learn how to be more entrepreneurial and how to start your own business. It is a sector in our economy which is very much focused on innovation and disruptive innovation. It is very much connected to the modern economy, to the internet, to online shopping. So there are so many positives. And it's also a place where people come together. It's also a sort of community place. In some of the stores, people drink a cup of coffee, meet friends, and then buy some stuff. So it has many, many impacts on society.
Mr. Prime Minister, you had a fantastic career at Unilever. You obviously know brands very well. Do you think country brands are as important as product brands?
Oh, they're crucial. And what I found in this job is that the brand of Amsterdam, the brand of the Netherlands, the brand of Eindhoven, or the whole commercial area around cities like Zwolle and Amersfoort are crucial for our international standing. And the fact that you can bike to school as a child, that it's relatively safe here, that there are so many possibilities when you like sports or culture. And I really learned to brand that much more than we did already.
One last question, Mr. Prime Minister. What advice would you give retailers today who are under a lot of pressure, under a lot of stress? Everything's changing very fast.
Yeah, but still, at the same time, you are in a fascinating sector. So enjoy what you are doing. We live only once. This is the real thing. This is not the. So you have to make the best of it. And there are so many opportunities for good salespeople, for good businessmen and women, to make use of all those opportunities which are out there. And do realize that you play a very important part in societies. You are really part of society.
Mr. Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Wow, I can't believe it. We've come to the end of our broadcast. We're almost out of time. I'd like to thank everybody who participated in today's broadcast. And just to remind you again, please do download the app and enjoy going virtually into every single one of our countries in this year's 2021 Best Countries Study. So from me, David Roth, thank you very much indeed. And Mike, thank you very much indeed as well.
My pleasure. And feel free to reach out if you have any questions. Thank you.
Well, have a great rest of the day. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. We really appreciate it.